Don't kill me. Don't kill me, man. Don't kill me. Don't kill me, man, said a thug on a roof. I'm not gonna kill you. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to tell all your friends about me. The thug replied, What are you? I'm Batman. Recognize this quote's movie? Stay tuned to find out or check out the title of this episode of Talking Pictures Trivia.
Welcome to Talking Pictures Trivia, the podcast in which a group of geographically challenged friends explore movies through trivia as an excuse to keep their friendships alive. I'm one of these friends and today's host, Nick, and with me is...
Tom.
Additionally, joining us as guests this week are...
Justin.
And I'm Chris.
Thanks for joining us. Justin is back from our Back to the Future episode. You may remember Chris from such episodes as Spaceballs, The Spirit of the Beehive, and Ghostbusters. Justin and Chris conveniently like movies. For those joining us for the first time, we start off each episode with a movie quiz, as these pivotal questions will determine who earns today's trivia crown. In round one, each question is worth 1 point, and in round two, each question is worth 2 points. Then, once the fierce competition is over, we follow it up with our famous movie rant where anything goes. Tom, tell us about today's movie.
Today we are going back to 1989 to continue to get ready for the new upcoming movie, The Batman. In 1989, NASA launches the Galileo spacecraft, the Berlin Wall comes down, and Nintendo releases the Game Boy. During all of this, Tim Burton's movie Batman was released in theaters alongside the See No Evil, Hear No Evil, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, Dead Poets Society, Star Trek V, Ghostbusters 2, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, Do the Right Thing, The Karate Kid Part 3, Weekend at Bernie's, Lethal Weapon 2, 007 License to Kill, and When Harry Met Sally. Nick will be quizzing us today. Nick, what is Batman all about?
Very simple. This movie is about a struggling city wanting to throw a bicentennial party, but they're having a lot of trouble with all the violence. Oh, wait. That's not what it's about. This movie is about a news reporter who wants to get the scoop on a really cool... Wait, no, that's not what it's about either. This movie is about the Batman and his arch nemesis, the Joker. Tom, if you only had one word to describe Batman, what would it be?
Spectacle. Justin?
Mysterious. Chris?
I'm gonna cheat again and say 2 words. I'm gonna say Art Deco.
We'll pretend there's a hyphen.
I like that.
And my word would be toys.
It's time for question 1.
What was the name of the theater where the Wayne family watched the musical sensation Footlight Frenzy, directed by Ron House?
Locked in.
Locked in.
I'll say locked in, but I have nothing unless that's the end.
Do you want to guess?
I will say I pass on that question. I
Okay.
don't have the answer to it.
I don't remember who locked in second.
I'll go. I'll say the Monarch.
It is indeed the Monarch Theater.
It was called the Monarch Theater. The reference I made was a movie poster that was outside when they were walking to go back home before they got mugged. And unfortunately, the Wayne parents got killed.
Do you know the original movie they were going to in the comics?
Please educate us.
I believe it was
I think it's Deflator Mouse.
No, that's in
Or that's
in
the Nolan one.
That's the Nolan one. They're going to they're going to the Richard Strauss opera. It's I believe it's the Mask of Zorro.
The Mask of Zorro. That's right. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
I do know that it was something Zorro related.
Yeah.
So the reason I brought this one up is I really wanted to talk about this specific portrayal of Batman and Bruce Wayne by Michael Keaton. And the reason I picked this scene to start off was this is when he really starts his transformation to become the Batman later in his life. This is the traumatic event that makes him want to get back at all that is bad and evil in this city. So I remember last week we kind of had some of us had a good feeling about this portrayal of Michael Keaton as Batman, but I'd really like to hear, more details on that, pro or con.
I like him. I think he's really good. I like that he doesn't do the modulated voice. I like that he doesn't throw his voice like Christian Bale tries to. That's probably like one of my biggest criticisms of those movies. But that's enough about that because it's about Michael Keaton. I think he does really well. I think he plays the two personalities pretty well. I don't know that I love his Bruce Wayne, but I do like the fact of how hard he's trying to be two different entities. Like his personality as Batman versus personality as Bruce Wayne definitely kind of fits for me. I think they were still I don't, this is not on Keaton, but I think they were still trying to figure out the best way to portray Batman as two different people on a video medium when they did this movie, and I think it's gotten a little bit more honed. Uh, but I do really like him. He is one of my favorites. I'm actually really excited to see him come back as an older Batman in these movies that are coming up from DC, even though they're going to be hot garbage. So I do like it. But before I pass it along, I marvel at the fact that this '89 Batman was shot on a film studio lot. And if you go back and watch how many times the Monarch Theater is in the background, it just goes to show you how small the Warner Brothers lot is, that it literally is in every other car chase scene. You see them driving past the Monarch in a different direction. And because they only had like 3 or 4 streets on the back lot that the Batmobile had to constantly kind of weave back and forth on. So it always stood out to me that the theater was always there because you could definitely tell it was a backlot film.
Yeah, I really like his Bruce Wayne. I like it more than I think Christian Bale's, who I'm not really in love with Christian Bale's Batman or Bruce Wayne. I mean, his Bruce Wayne is fine, I suppose. Ben Affleck has a kind of interesting Bruce Wayne. I think he's very angry. He's very tough. He has much more of a Frank Miller style. Michael Keaton's Bruce Wayne is very odd. Like, he's a little socially awkward. He's a little isolated, both in his psychological trauma, but also in his wealth, which is something we see as an act that Batman performs. Batman pretends, or Bruce Wayne pretends, to be isolated by his wealth in order to not appear as Batman. It seems like Keaton plays that straight, though. And he's also like a little bit of a flake. Alfred kind of has to push him to be like, no, sir, Commissioner Gordon left in a rush, like you pay attention, that something's happening now.
Context clues.
Yeah. He's much more, he's much odder than the other Batmans. And the way we see him deal with the trauma is we're exposed to it not only in the back alley scene, which is filmed and shown to us in flashback, but when the Joker assaults the mob boss on the stairs of Gotham, we're told by Vicky Vale that the gaze Bruce has when he looks at that is the same gaze the kid had in the alley next to the Monarch when his parents were shot, which is this kind of, not rage, but this sort of befuddlement that makes you kind of aloof or isolated even from yourself. It's a really odd character, and I really liked it.
Well, I think I took from that scene that, like, when he's watching him get back into the car and like, toodaloo, I just killed the mob boss. Like, I feel like that's his first hint that is the guy that killed his parents. So like, he's traumatized from that event, and he's now finally coming to, oh, this is the guy that did it. Like, he's actually his lifelong journey to find that person is now kind of coming to fruition. He's, horse and blinders kind of thing on him.
Yeah, he's I don't know if it's clicking, but there's some connections that are being made. Right. I think that's right. I think there is supposed to be, and the movie tells us, there's supposed to be a connection between his response to that and his response to his parents' death.
Well, and the next scene you see him talking to Pennyworth, he's asking for the file on his parents. So like, I think he's putting. I think he's putting.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Yep.
Yeah, I think he was good. I mean, he's a good Bruce Wayne. Probably like the most nuanced type of different characteristics, I guess. More depth, I would say, than the other Batmans. I do like Christian Bale, except for the voice is terrible. And it seems like it just got worse. But and I do like those movies. But so it would be a toss up, I guess, between them two as my favorite Batman. You know, he's the original, and I never saw the George Clooney one or the Ben Affleck one. So
You're okay on the Clooney,
yeah, I
for
mean,
sure.
It wasn't.
I haven't seen all the Ben
an
Affleck
accident.
ones.
It wasn't an
Yeah.
accident.
Yeah.
I saw it.
He
Those two guys.
literally said he did it because of the check, right? Like
I refuse to just. I just can't picture either of them as a Batman, so I just refuse to go watch them.
Yeah, the only thing I would say about this portrayal, I really focus more on the Bruce Wayne part of it than the Batman. I already like the Batman portrayal, but Bruce Wayne in this one, he's almost plagued by his money. He doesn't really care about the money, where in the other ones, especially the Christian Bale one, he has to really up the playboy, ostentatious lifestyle, cars. He doesn't want to sit at that stuffy table with the big dining room, in the big dining room. He wants to eat in the kitchen around a small table. Like he's not into all that, stuff. So it's an interesting way to portray Bruce Wayne. And I don't think a lot of the other ones do so much in that direction. So that's one of my favorite parts of this Michael Keaton's performances, at this, duality between Batman and Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, he seems a bit disinterested, like his mind is kind of elsewhere, than the money. And another thing is, it makes a real interesting face as Batman. Like, it seems, I don't know, I mean, you're only seeing half his face, but it seems like he's really kind of making a face. Like,
I know what you're saying there, actually.
Like an angry,
yeah.
He's
Like,
definitely mean mugging.
Yeah, he's definitely doing something.
Yeah. It's not. I will say I like Affleck's Batman because it's a little more. I really like the Frank Miller Batman from The Dark Knight Rises, which is influencing this movie. That's an '86 comic, so there's certainly an influence there. But he doesn't seem rageful, right? You don't get that impression, which is something that you sometimes see with the Batmans, or you even see in the animated series as well. Or not necessarily the animated series, but the Universal cartoons that have come out. They've made a ton of Batman movies, and some of them he's more along that kind of anger spectrum. That's not the case here. He's like a flake a little bit.
That's why I think he's so aloof in real life, because he just wants to get back to being the Batman. Like he wants to focus on that passion. And the daytime is almost like getting in his way.
I feel it's very hard to compare these Batman actors, because I feel like the Ben Affleck Batman and the Christian Bale Batman come from a place of like rage, and this Batman comes from a place of like redemption and vindication. Like he's trying to find the killer. It's not that he's angry about it, but he wants justice. So it's a different. I feel like from the actor's perspective, their base, like this is where I'm starting, was two different places. Whereas Bruce Wayne, Ben Affleck, is just a ball full of anger ready to explode, and then he kicks an alien through a wall.
You have one direction, and you're going to just really maximize that direction.
Christian Bale's the same thing. Like his inner voice is that gravelly thing that you get, and then he eventually covers it up to be Bruce Wayne and be the billionaire playboy. But I feel like the Keaton one, they weren't focusing on the rage yet. They were just focusing on the redemption and the trying to. It almost felt like it was a childhood gone wrong, and he was trying to make up for trauma by being the Batman. And it came from a different place of vulnerability, I guess. And that's why he seems more aloof and just kind of like flitty a little bit.
What do you guys think the Robert Pattinson one is going to be like?
That's a rage machine ready to explode.
Yeah, it looks really Frank Miller, doesn't it? It looks really hard.
I didn't even know that was coming out until this week. I just saw the commercial.
Oh, yeah.
It'll be here soon enough. That's why we're doing this whole, on Batman inspired, Batman adjacent. Yeah.
But you already knew that was coming a while ago?
Yeah. We've been keeping tabs. This was delayed by COVID. It was supposed to come out in 20?
Yeah, a lot of things got pushed. Like even this, we've been trying to do a Top Gun episode for like ages now, and I think that got moved back like 2 years already. So
man, I've been waiting for that.
Yeah, it's been on our radar.
It's time for question 2.
Where did the Joker say his famous line? Where does he get those wonderful toys?
Locked in.
You beat me, Chris.
Yeah. Locked in.
The trick is to lock in earlier, because I always make you go first if you're last. So, Justin, start us out. Where did he say it?
In the street?
I believe it's Tom's turn.
In the Flugelheim Museum.
Chris?
Yeah, he's meeting Vicky Vale for like a lunch date at the eatery inside the art museum.
Yes. Unfortunately for Justin, it was the museum and not the street. I would have accepted Flugelheim Museum, spelled Fluegelheim, or Flugelheim Museum, spelled Flugelheim. The reason I brought that up was on the menu, it was pronounced or was spelled the first way, but when you actually exit the museum, it's spelled out the other way.
Oh.
But none of this really matters because I don't want to talk about a museum. I want to talk about the Joker, specifically Jack Nicholson's portrayal.
Every single Joker has been so different. You can't compare them. They're all their own entity. You have your Mark Hamill animated Joker as a completely different thing from the Cesar Romero, from the Heath Ledger to this Jack Nicholson one. I probably have a soft spot in my heart for it because it's like, I think like you, Nick, this is my Batman to a certain extent. I probably would say that the animated series is my Batman, but this was my first live action Batman that was mine. So he's my Joker. But being that I've been able to kind of like dive through comics and other mediums and other movies and TV shows, I can see where this Joker is a little grating. And it does feel like Jack Nicholson was chewing the scenery. I think a little bit was directed that way. I think like he wanted to be maniacal and just outlandish. And I think that was kind of what Tim Burton was going for. And so I don't think Jack Nicholson did a bad job in retrospective of what the director wanted. But I can kind of see it being a little bit on the edge. I would also say that this is a very much a comic book movie that's very, very close to the 66 Batman. It's very campy. And I think that he's playing it a little campier on purpose. I don't think it's bad acting. I think it's him playing it just a little bit more like they were aiming for. If you take the dark black lens off the film and you put the Technicolor 66 lens on it, this is an Adam West Batman movie, I think.
I disagree. I think Frank Miller, I've mentioned him 3 times now. So for people to know, Frank Miller is the he's a comic book writer, and he wrote the very famous 1986 Batman Returns, which kind of ended the Bronze Age of comics and started what we call the modern era, which is a sort of vague term, but here comes modernity again. And
moving on.
Yeah, and it's marked. Miller's work is kind of marked by, it's very aggressive and it's very dark. I think that this movie is closer to that than it is to the sort of Silver Age Adam West Batman, where Batman's more of a camp figure. The Joker is.
But do you mean I'm sorry to interject here.
Mm-hmm.
I think Chris was saying specifically the Joker, not the film as a whole.
But look at what the Joker does. I think what he does to his female companion, where he scars her face as a work of art, is pretty shocking. And then when she commits suicide, the Joker.
Did she really commit suicide? I always got
kill her. Yeah,
that.
I think the idea I found the idea of like the living work of art thing, where we burn her face to make her into a living work of art, to be deeply disturbing. That is not something you would have seen in the Adam West series. It's not something you would have seen in the Silver Age of comics.
Let me. I don't mean to break in, but let me give you the elevator pitch.
Sure.
All right. You have an aloof Bruce Wayne who doesn't really have too much to say as Bruce Wayne, who then dresses up like a bat. He drives a gigantically outlandish car through the streets of a city. And then the Joker's main axe is he's going to make people use makeup that turns their faces into Joker grins. He's going to have balloons that go down the street that emit gas. Mm-hmm. All of these elements, if you don't paint the black picture and put Batman in the black suit, those are all right out of the 66 Batman. Like you could see Bruce Wayne running down the street with the bomb over his head. Like they're taking the pieces of campy Batman and they're painting it in a Tim Burton color. And I think that was the magic of it. They took the fun of the Batman the old Batman, the original Batman, and they painted it that way. And I feel like
I think I agree with you. I think there is a comic book feel to it, but I think that comic book feel, that kind of look and that aesthetic, it's darker than what we see in the kind of the Tim Burton or in the 1960s iterations of Batman in print. In those, in the like that age, you really couldn't see criminals killing people. That just wasn't, that was not allowed. You couldn't really see organized crime. However, Tim Burton seems to like the aesthetic of that, the campy, the over the top, the balloons going down the street, right? The bright color, the bright colors, the laughing, the fact that his
I think the matching henchman is still
the matching
going back to
henchman.
those-
Yeah, exactly. But there's a much more of a darkness to it, and I think that gassing the citizens on the street to death, and I think especially what he does to that female character, a lot of that is much more it's much darker than what you would find in earlier iterations. I think this movie is influenced by Frank Miller. I still think it is, even though it's not going as far as Miller did.
I don't think I'm as familiar with the old stuff as they are from the 60s. I mean, I have a vague idea of it, and I tend to think
Pow, wham.
yeah, I think
Smash.
it is kind of similar to that, from what I remember of it. But yeah, it's a bit more cartoonish to me, like 80s too. Of course, it's in the 80s. He's a bit over the top. He's not my favorite Joker. I'll say that.
Who is your favorite?
Well, you got Heath Ledger, and what is the other one? Tommy Lee. No, he was Two-Face.
No,
right?
Oh yeah, no, we all forget his name. What's his name?
No, the new one.
The clubber, the guy who goes to clubs. That Joker.
Yeah, I can only think of Heath Ledger as the other one. I don't.
No, it's not Batman.
The
related.
Oscar winner.
The other guy.
Which movie though? Which?
It's the Suicide Squad.
Yes, that.
Oh, you're talking about Jared
I never
Leto.
saw that.
Jared Leto. Thank you.
Leto,
Mm.
yeah.
Oh,
I would say along those lines, Jack Nicholson was my Joker just as much as Michael Keaton was my Batman. But the one who really kind of may have pushed him aside was Heath Ledger for me. I really did enjoy that portrayal. And I think that actually makes me like that movie more than the Batman makes me like that movie whenever we talk about that.
yeah.
He definitely is the one that stands out for me when it comes to Joker. Up until that point, it definitely was Jack Nicholson, but he kind of got pushed down a peg when, why so serious?
Yeah.
But that's what I was getting at. The Jokers are so wildly different.
Mm-hmm.
Like that if Jack Nicholson's a comic book Joker, then Heath Ledger is just a psychopath.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very different portrayal. And they both do in my opinion, a great job.
And Mark Hamill. Let's not forget Mark Hamill, who does wonderful, wonderful work.
I'm not as familiar with the new animated stuff.
Yeah,
so.
or see The Killing Joke. He's the Joker in The Killing Joke as well.
Skywalker, Mark Hamill.
Yeah, he does the voice.
Mm-hmm.
All the 90s Batman animated series from Fox, they were all Mark Hamill.
Mark Hamill and Kevin Connolly, who is now does the live act. Is it Kevin Connolly?
Saturday morning.
Kevin
Yeah,
Conroy.
yeah.
Connery,
Yeah.
thank you.
Conroy.
Conroy. I'm getting his name wrong. But he is now a live action Batman as well in The Flash, isn't he?
He's been doing some of the Flash stuff where Batman's kind of older, and it's been good.
One thing I'll say about this, I don't think it adds up to much, but Joker as artist was an interesting thing. I don't know if I've run across that in another instance. I don't know, Chris, if you could speak to when the Joker takes on the mantle of an artist. It kind of doesn't connect to the rest of the movie. It seems fairly random.
It's another one of those, and I don't mean to harp on it to like prove my point, but it's another one of those things that makes me feel like it's a 66 Batman.
Okay.
Because every time you see the Joker, he's in a different outfit doing a different thing.
Mhm.
One time he's wearing a beret, and the other time he's wearing the makeup to cover the white face. The other time he's, running down the street, he's climbing the cathedral. Like he goes through.
Wasn't he a mime? Wasn't he one of the mimes?
More wardrobe changes than an Oscar presenter.
Yeah.
So it's they were really just putting him into different set pieces. And yeah, I don't really remember any comic book reference where he goes in and defaces works of art.
Yeah.
I think that might be unique to the movie. I'm not a complete Batman connoisseur, but at the same time, it is one of my favorite ones because he has zero. I can't really use the word that I want to. He gives zero F's about anything that is not specifically what he's trying to accomplish, which is just mayhem.
The one part that specifically made me think of the throwback, Chris, was when they're up in the belfry and he has the gun and he says he can't take it anymore, pretty much, and he shoots and a little flag comes out that says bang. Like that made me think.
He pulls the 3-foot revolver out of his pants that he had there the whole time. Like, come on, if that's not 66 Batman, I don't know what is.
Yeah, I think that is camp. I just think it is. I'm not saying it isn't borrowing from camp or using camp aesthetics. I think it is also darker than that.
Oh no, I completely agree with you that it is darker, but I do feel like you can see, and I don't disagree that it's definitely got some Frank Miller vibe to it, because that was quintessential 80s Batman. Everybody that liked Batman from that time period knows that book. But at the same time, like, I feel like if you take if you show the balloons going down the street and you have the gas pouring out of it and you cut to right before the people fall over, that could have been on TV in the 60s and that would have been right in line with a plot point. You go, like, Tim Burton turned the color dial down so that it wasn't that way. He made sure the cameras weren't Dutch tilted anymore. And all he did was let the camera watch the action for a beat longer. That was really all he did, other than shoot a 66 Batman film.
After round one, Tom and Chris are tied at 2 points apiece, and Justin is still with us. Don't worry, each question in round two is 2 points each. We'll be right back after these words from our sponsor.
Tom here, and our advertiser today is Brand X. Lots of people have been using cosmetics and hygienic products from the Joker. These products may make you look beautiful. They may make you smell like a field of daisies. They may make your skin as smooth as still water. But they will also probably kill you. I recommend that you instead try Brand X. Brand X may be somewhat bland. It may not cause you to grin from ear to ear, no, but it certainly won't paralyze your muscles in a deformed rictus and kill you. As we say here at Brand X, our product won't murder you or terrorize your city. Brand X. Pick up a living product today.
And we're back. We're at the critical point of our episode where we ask the guests a key question. If you could write your own sequel for Batman, pretend all the other ones don't exist, what would be the plot?
Well, I would have all of the villains get together on a submarine while Batman runs down a dock with a big bomb over his head. No, I'm joking. That's Batman. That's Batman the movie. I always thought it would be intriguing to see what happens to the Joker when he hits the ground. Like, you hear the laughing box. You see Commissioner Gordon take it out of his jacket pocket and it's still laughing. What if you could go off of that and do something along the lines of the Joker is not a man, it's an idea. And then you have a second Joker or a mob of Jokers who are then going after Gotham City and kind of making it a little bit more dilapidated than it was. Like, there was a rise in Gotham after the Joker passes away, and then perhaps now there's a new mob of Jokers that take up the laughing mantle to suppress the city and make Batman come out of retirement or pseudo retirement or whatever it might be. Because think about this Batman just for a second. Batman has now gotten justice on the person who has killed his parents in this 89 Batman. Why is he still Batman? Maybe there has to be a continuation of the Joker story.
See, at first I thought you were going to go with the theme of like possession, like the laughing box spread the Joker, but now you're talking more about a rise up or copycats embracing the banner.
Maybe copycats like that.
There was actually a planned fifth movie in which Jack Nicholson was going to come as a dream. He was like a dream of the Joker, or a memory of the Joker, and it was going to be his daughter Harley Quinn taking on that mantle and getting revenge. So there was that, but because Batman and Robin did so poorly, they canned it.
All those other ones blur together in my mind, like Mr. Freeze and all those.
Batman Forever is a little better.
I don't hate Batman Forever.
I don't
think
at
Jim
all.
Carrey's
Yeah.
great.
Mhm.
Yeah, I liked it too. Batman Forever.
Yeah. It leans more into that camp thing, and it has more of kind of like a rave aesthetic almost. But I had fun with it. I'm not gonna lie.
I think they continue to go downhill from there is where I'm going. I
Yeah.
really enjoyed Batman Returns, because it's really dark. And I did like Danny DeVito's
Yeah,
he was
He's
the
the Penguin,
Penguin. Yeah. And Christopher Walken as the corrupt businessman. You always
Mac-
need that corrupt
Mac
businessman.
Shrek.
Max Shrek, who is, what's that a reference to? Nosferatu. That's why they named him that. That was the actor played.
I didn't realize
that's
that.
why they named him that. That's not actually a Batman character. There's an
Interesting.
invention for that. But yeah, I have to say, I think this is the best of the four. Even though Michelle Pfeiffer, what she does in Batman Returns is the best of all the four movies. But I think Batman, the 89, is the most solid.
So Justin, how are you going to mess with the best, huh? What would your sequel look like?
It looks a lot like Batman Returns.
You're just going to steal the whole script. It's fair. It's fair.
No, I have one question though. The was the Penguin, was he supposed to be that fat guy in this movie? Like, you know, when it was the Joker
Eckhart?
and the other guy, they get in.
Eckhart, Lieutenant
Yeah.
Eckhart.
Oh no,
I
he's
don't
dead.
think so.
He,
Yeah, he got
he's
killed.
dead.
he was scheming with the dirty cop, kind of, right? Or the
He
Yeah.
was a dirty cop.
He was a
He
dirty-
was
yeah.
actually
That's-
under the payroll
he's
for
not the actual
Ross
penguin.
Grissom.
He's not the Penguin.
No, different storyline.
No,
He's dead.
Oswald Cobblepot is the
He
bad
could have
guy.
Yes.
been. He kind of, you know.
Well, wait. Well, maybe in Justin's
Oh, in mine.
version.
Yeah. in my
Yeah,
version-
there we go.
my
Yeah.
version, he is the Penguin, and then
Oh.
you know, Danny DeVito and everything.
Does he get revenge? Does he get revenge on the Joker? Does the Joker come back and he has to get revenge on him?
He gets a revenge on the mob of Jokers that came back from Chris's version.
Yeah.
He gets
Joker mob.
revenge on his grave, I guess.
It's time for question 3.
Oh, you guys are gonna love this one. It's a timestamp question.
I can't hate these so hard.
It's a great way to make sure that you don't have ties.
That's a good point.
At what timestamp in this 2-hour and 6-minute film does Vicky Vale definitively know Bruce Wayne is the Batman?
Locked in.
Locked in, yeah.
Locked in.
They beat you. Okay, Justin, start us off. At what time do you think that she knows?
1:08:23.
Oh, is it Price is Right rules?
Yes, the closest without going over.
All right.
Well, you got to tell someone before they can.
That's fair.
Would you like to change your number?
No, we'll stick with that.
Okay, the next was Tom, I think.
I'm gonna go with 120.
Okay, and Chris?
I'm gonna go with 112.
Okay, and then we get to debate to make sure that I have the scene correct. The answer, well, actually, the points are going to go to Tom. He said 120. I have 1 hour, 32 minutes, and 17 seconds. This is when Vicky Vale, we could see her in the Batcave being escorted by
That's right.
the butler.
Which is a disappointing scene because you don't see her make the realization. She already knows when she walks in.
Also, she's just focused on their relationship. There was like no shock to her
Yeah,
that he was Batman.
yeah. It's really that was really disappointing. I will.
I would okay. Yes, definitively is the question, is the word that you use. So I have to agree with you that her walking into the Batcave is when she definitively knows. But I think that it's after the two roosters in the henhouse scene that she knows he's Batman, and it just so happens that she doesn't put the pieces together until she's escorted in. I think that when he gets shot and she finds the silver tray in her apartment, that's the when she gets the inclination that this guy, there's something up with this guy, there's something more going on here. Because not only that, after she stays over, she sees him hanging upside down. Like, that's weird. I know that was some sort of way to kind of work out in the 80s, perhaps, but it's just strange to see some eccentric guy hanging upside down in the bedroom. And then you get that scene where he acts completely out of character. Like, that's the first time that you want to get nuts scene is like, that's wild. Like, who does that?
Yeah, that was a weird one.
Then you see the tray with the bullet in it as if he had premeditated, like he wanted to be shot by this guy. Like, I feel like she puts the pieces together there. And I agree that the definitive scene is when she's in the Batcave, but I think that's also why you can give her credit for maybe not being super surprised by it. I think it's definitely something that's been building. She is a reporter. I mean, she's working with Knox and she's doing these pictures, and even though she's a photojournalist, she definitely is in the vein of somebody who investigates. So I think that it's not totally outlandish to say that she would have had an inclination before.
Yeah. Oh, this is where the screenplay needed a rewrite. That scene where Bruce gets shot by Jack or the Joker.
You want to get nuts?
Yeah, it's weirdly written. Though the point of it is you need it for the mechanics, because you need him to hear Joker's line about his parents, right? That's how he knows that I made you, you made me. So you need that scene. It's just really poorly written. And I appreciate that Vicky has maybe put these pieces together as she's walking into the Batcave, but don't you guys want the scene where she goes, "Oh my God, you're Batman"? Like that great scene when Selina Kyle figures it out and Batman returns and they're dancing and they say the same line that they said as Batman and Catwoman, and there's this kind of like, well, what do we do now? That kind of moment.
That was good. I mean,
that was a good moment. Yeah,
opportunity for sure.
Yeah. I think this is where some of the flaws in the script kind of show.
Yeah, and I agree with Christopher. Like, I think that's where, in that scene, is where she thought, is this Batman? But I don't think it was definitive though. But especially being a reporter, I think the question popped in her head, and she investigated further. And we don't know exactly what happened, but it's definitely a missed opportunity.
Yeah, I didn't have the timestamp for that other one, so we'll stick with definitive.
I do agree that it could have been better, and that the Selina Kyle, like that scene is much better when it comes to like the reveal of Batman. But I also think that this is more a story about Bruce and Jack than it is about Selina Kyle and Bruce, or not Selina Kyle, but Vicky Vale and Bruce. So that scene is also, the scene in her apartment is also when Bruce is trying to put the pieces together himself of whether that's actually Jack Napier that is the Joker. So he's also like, let me tell you a story about this guy named Jack, and how he's egging on the Joker to find out if he's going to react to being called Jack. And I think and they just kind of like threw the Vicky Vale thing in there. Not that it's a throwaway character, but at the same time, like, I think the writing was more focused on the Bruce and Jack characters than it was about the Bruce and Vicky relationship. Yeah,
I mean, he's there to tell her he's Batman. That was kind of the thing, but he couldn't do. But yeah, that also seems, it feels a little missed, the sort of the kind of that like dialectic of mutual creation that goes on between the Joker and Batman. That also feels a little underwritten. However, it's it's fine. I think it works fine.
I mean, he had to know that was the Joker. I mean, he looks pretty much the same,
Well, I don't think the question was if he knew it was the Joker. I think the question was he the person who killed his parents?
Okay. Yeah.
Because he even says, no, he says early on that to the butler, Jack Napier's not dead. Because he's the one who dropped him into the acid. Yeah. The chemicals, whatever it was.
I think he might have because we talked about this before when the Joker kills the mob boss on, I think it's City Hall stairs, that he asks for his brought this up, that he asked for his parents' file after that. I don't know if he's egging on the Joker to see if he's the person who killed his parents. I mean, how would egging him on lead to that conclusion anyway? But I think he is trying to get something out of him, right? It's just a little unclear what he's trying to get out of him.
I think he's just researching his enemy. You got to know your enemy.
Yeah, I don't think he knew that was the person who killed his parents in that scene.
Yeah, I don't think
that's a plant. It's a plant for us and him to connect the dots.
But that is the scene where he finds out that it's his parents' killer.
It is. Yeah, it is the scene.
100%.
Because he's egging him on to the point of like kind of breaking, like, reveal something about yourself. Like, I don't think to Tom's credit, I don't think they really do a good enough job in the writing to kind of make this on Front Street for everybody. But I really feel as if you're led to believe that, Jack falls in the pit, he dies. And then everybody else doesn't think that Jack's back, even though the Joker and Jack don't really look all that different. All the mob bosses at that table don't recognize him. They don't know who he is. And Jack Napier was the right-hand man to Grissom. So I think we are led to believe that the Joker looks different enough that nobody knows he's Jack, including Batman. And then Batman is trying to kind of pull the pieces out of him. And it is his egging him on that causes him to say the famous line, the dance of the devil with the pale moonlight kind of thing. And that's when he finally knows that is indeed the person that gunned down his parents.
Yeah, they did the whole thing where if I'm white, like wearing a white paint on my face, you don't know who I am. But if I'm wearing like colored
the Superman Clark
paint,
Kent.
like I know you're Jack Napier. I mean, like when he sat down with those other mob bosses, he was painted in like flesh colored skin. They knew who he was, but when he's in his normal white skin,
comic book,
then they don't. Yeah, exactly.
It's time for question 4.
How much money is Joker giving away to the citizens of Gotham during his bicentennial parade?
Locked in.
Oh, I think Chris might have got the jump on that one.
That's fine.
Locked in.
Okay, Justin, you definitely were last. How much?
$1 million.
Tom.
20 million.
Chris, begrudgingly.
20 million.
And it looks like Tom will be taking down the episode. A valiant effort to both Justin and Chris.
On a timestamp. I
was going to say, to be fair to Chris, it was a timestamp question.
I got to put them in there for those tiebreakers.
It's like my tiebreakers are always something along the lines of how many Oscar winners are in this movie.
Yeah. Which one is worse? I don't know.
Yeah, which might be worse.
I think I have a better shot at the Oscar winners, honestly.
Yeah. But these questions are like, oh no, we're gonna have a tiebreaker. All right, let's do this. Yeah.
So this specific question, we've talked about Batman, Bruce Wayne, Joker, Jack Nicholson's portrayal of it. We just went a little bit into one of the supporting characters, Vicky Vale, which is probably the main supporting character. I wanted to talk about the city of Gotham as a character in itself.
Oh yeah, it is excellent. The set design is the movie. The designer was oh crap, I don't have his name in front of me. It's like a German name.
Oh yeah, German guy.
I cannot believe I forgot his name. Anyway, but the set is absolutely gorgeous. It takes from kind of the German expressionistic sensibility. It's gothic. It's also seedy, but it's seedy and beautiful at the same time. It looks like an absolute party, but it has these kind of impossible shapes. I'm glad we did the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari before we did this, because the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, I don't know if you guys agree, seems to definitely feed into this movie. It has that kind of look.
I may be the only one who watched it aside.
It's a German expressionistic movie that takes place in like an urban environment that looks like this. Cabinet of Dr. Caligari is maybe a little weirder in the shapes, but it's
also a silent film from the early 20s. Is it
1918?
Yeah, I was gonna say it might not even be the 20s.
Yeah,
it was. Even if you don't like silent films, it was very good. It was worth a watch.
And I love that cathedral. the shape of the impossibility of that cathedral. It's so narrow, and yet when you get inside, none of the dimensions make sense. Also, like where the pews are is like in the corner of a space that doesn't make sense.
Even when the bell falls down the tower and is in the middle, but it breaks all the stairs. I don't know. There was a lot of
what makes this movie is that set stuff. And it comes back in the Batman Returns, but it is, I think, phenomenal.
Yeah, I don't know who came up with all the set designs, but I know Anton First is the guy that
Thank
did the
you.
Batmobile.
Yeah,
I don't know.
He also did the set design. Yeah.
Okay, so he must have done all of it. But that's the most iconic Batmobile that I can think of. Bar none. All the Batmobiles that have come since, none of them compared to that. It's the one that I have the Lego set built in. It's in my room and it's never going to get taken apart. It's fantastic. I feel it's kind of like reminiscent of like 80s New York a little bit with like,
definitely.
and mob bosses and crime is going, and we got to clean up the city. We got to clean up the streets, that kind of thing. And the art deco that I mentioned in my one word thing that I cheated on, it just pops. And all of the set design from this movie influenced my favorite Batman, which is the animated series. And they definitely took this motif, cranked it up a little bit to make it animated and cartoonish and ran. And it's great. I love it. And even though it was shot on a backlot, you can definitely see all the different angles. I also wanted to shout out the matte paintings. That this movie had so many matte paintings and that they were really used very well and they looked great. And you could definitely tell when they were on screen because there was something off about them, but you didn't mind. They were still beautiful to look at. And it even though I knew I was kind of like being taken out of the movie and then put back into the movie every time I saw one, I really enjoyed it still. I think I enjoyed it a little bit more because I saw that like artistry that was in it. The cathedral scene sticks out to me a lot when they're on top of the cathedral looking down at Gotham. That is just one gigantic matte painting, and they have these really bad animated spotlights going across. It looks bad, and I should be like, oh, that's cringy. This is 2022. We should have good at, but I love it. I love every moment of it. It really is. There's something special and magical about it, even though I know that it looks kind of grainy and bad, that I do love the art direction they did.
What's a matte painting for those of us that don't know?
So what before CGI, before they could kind of like take gigantic green screens and make backgrounds, what they would do is they'd shoot the actors in the foreground, and what they would do is they would superimpose over it a piece of glass that had a painting on it, so that the actors in the foreground would be there, and then it would be a piece of glass that was painted by an artist that would make the background. They don't do it anymore because now they just throw a giant green tarp up and they can put whatever computer generated thing they want. But back then, an artist had to actually like paint what this scene would look like. So, you see Batman and the Joker on top of the balcony. They were probably like a foot off the ground. And then an artist had to make that kind of landscape that made it look like they were hundreds of feet in the air. Yeah,
and that scene, that's always stuck out for me. Like that just stuck in my memory, the whole, the tower and Joker falling and everything. Well, this one you can see the miniature model houses, like in scenes like they used to do in the 80s. You can see where it transitions, and for some of the special effects, and that you could tell it's the miniature.
What about when people fall?
Oh yeah, when the guy falls down the belfry and he's like got his head between his knees as he's toppling down. Obviously a dummy. Or
when Joker fell, I don't know what that was.
Oh yeah, that was
a quick fall though, right? That one was a quick fall.
Like it didn't look anything like him. I don't know what that was. It was like some I don't know how they did that. It was weird.
Dummy probably, right?
I don't know.
It didn't even look like a dummy.
Could have been animated too.
Yeah, they also had like Batman at one point was animated when we first see him on the rooftop.
That's true. That's true. Could be animated.
So yeah.
And I want to know. I think it might have been a miniature with like a model inside, but when they do the Batman, the Batwing shots, and they're doing the kind of like pans when it's making its kind of like yaws, like you can see a Batman sitting inside of it, and the head is moving a little bit. I'm curious if they did that like stop motion, because it's certainly not CGI, but you can definitely see that he's articulated in there. If maybe it's like stop motion,
maybe.
Yeah.
model shots. And another model was when Vicky and Batman are dangling in front of the cathedral at the very end. It's definitely like two little HO scale train models like swinging back and forth in front of a plastic model miniature. It's
quality.
Yeah, but it's a look, right? It's a consistent look.
But it all fits. It's consistent.
And
that aesthetic.
and it's clear, it's distinct, and it's a really great time.
Yeah, I mean it was definitely like 1980s New York, and I mean especially being what they called the Flugelheim. So I mean that's Flugelheim museum. Like it's pretty obvious that they're trying to say it's New York. I guess they had. I saw the map and I was trying to see if it's similar, but
Gotham is an old nickname for New York.
Yeah, so I mean the map was pretty different though. Like when we all know that
the real Gotham City is Newark, though. Everybody knows that.
Newark. Yeah. They could have had some more people, I think, honestly, in the backgrounds. That was my one critique, I guess. But being that it's the first movie, they probably have not a huge budget to bring in thousands of people. So I did see some of the it was. I mean, I guess it was probably a dangerous time maybe in Manhattan, not so many people, but it seemed like there were not as many people as Manhattan would have.
Well, that's the whole thing that Chris was saying earlier. It was all filmed on a studio lot, so that's probably why you felt that sparse nature, because you've been in the city and even if you're going down a somewhat quiet street, there's a lot of people. I think that was just because of where they were filming it versus on location.
The crowd, which I mean happens in a lot of movies, but you can see where the crowd kind of ends a little bit,
Especially in like the city hall reporter scene.
Yeah,
there's like 2 or 3 reporters there. A couple of mimes and one single car drives past. Like one car in City Hall in New York is a little bit wild. This was Tim Burton's, I think, 3rd film.
It was.
So it wasn't like he was going to get a major kind of crazy budget. I think this was
right. That's what I figured.
Like he had done Beetlejuice with Michael Keaton, I think, first. And then I think Frankenweenie's the only one that was before this. So he was relatively new. I don't think
Pee-wee's Playhouse.
Oh, that's right. Pee-wee's Playhouse. What was the budget for this?
I want to say, I think 35, which is pretty generous for, I could look it up, but I thought it was 35, which is generous for 1989.
Oh yeah. Just 35 to 48 million after advertising, made 411.6 million in revenue.
Wow.
Yeah, very good.
So 10 times. That's pretty good.
It's time for Movie Rent.
This is a quote from Pauline Kael, the great Pauline, about the set design for this city. If I could read that, because I think it's a great description. It's sure, it's Gotham City with its jumble of buildings shooting miles and miles into the dirty skies is the product of uncontrolled greed. Without sunshine or greenery, the buildings look like derelicts. This is New York City deliberately taken just one step beyond the present. It's the city you imagine it when you're really down on it. It's Manhattan gone psycho. But even when you're down on it, you can get into your punk fantasies about how swollen it is, how blighted and yet horribly alive.
I think that is on point.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
Yeah,
I have 2 things to kind of talk about before we wrap it up. I think we'd be remiss if we did not mention Danny Elfman and the score. It is it's as iconic as a John Williams score for Jaws or Star Wars. I feel like every time you hear that, definitely, you 100% know what's coming next. And then I don't think we were recording when I mentioned this, but I think I mentioned to Nick that even though I've seen this movie 20 times, I saw something this time that I didn't notice before. When they're doing the press conference with introducing Harvey Dent, introducing Lando Calrissian as the district attorney, Bruce Wayne is actually supposed to be sitting at that table. So this is during the opening scene where Bruce is on the rooftop getting those 2 criminals. And if you look at the name cards, he's actually supposed to be sitting between the DA and Commissioner Gordon. And he's mysteriously missing because he's dressed as Batman on a rooftop. It's the first time I had ever seen that his name card was there. It's like they were definitely hinting at his aloofness and how like he's not he's part of the scene, he's part of the city, he's the
Mhm.
most expensive person there, but that he's definitely missing in action. But
Mhm.
we got to talk about Danny Elfman and the score a little bit, I think.
Oh, definitely. I mean, when just like you said, when you hear that, it's definitive Batman.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, it works in the same way that the kind of Jaws motif works. Yeah, as you know, dun, 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 that kind of represents Jaws. It's a leitmotif, and the Batman thing does the same work. I mean, does the Joker get his own little leitmotif? I don't know if I noted one.
I don't know
Uh,
if he might, but I don't know that I recognized it if it was
yeah,
there. Like,
I didn't recognize it either.
usually you watch something enough and you kind of pick up on like, oh, that's their music. Oh, that's their music.
Mhm.
I don't pick up on it. I think, is it Prince? Is Prince his motif? Like,
Prince,
could that be
yeah,
what it is?
I was gonna
Prince
say
did-
who's on the boombox, right?
It's always Prince, yeah.
Because Prince is on the floats. When he's on the
Mhm.
floats, it's a Prince song. When he's dancing through the Flugelheim,
Mhm.
it's Prince on the boombox. Like, maybe maybe Prince is his muse.
Yeah, I think Prince created original music for this, which has kind of been forgotten. It doesn't seem like the best
I'm
music.
pretty sure
honestly.
both of
Hmm.
those songs are Prince originals for this movie specifically.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not really a fan of the Prince music, but yeah, the Batman music, I like that.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
I mean, I think it still carries on
Mhm.
throughout all the movies, right? I mean, they've pretty much used that score.
I
and
think so.
Added a little to it, but I mean,
It's not in the Nolan films, is it?
I think it's like
I
think
don't. I
it's the
can't
bass.
No,
speak
because
to it.
that's Hans Zimmer. That's a
That's,
completely
yeah,
different.
that's a different guy. They
Yeah.
would've
But
used
it definitely continues through all of the animated series stuff, and
Mhm.
like that's like I always reference, that's the Batman that I watch the most of.
Mhm.
So it's definitely near and dear. It's definitely in Batman Returns.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's not in all the new ones. I feel like it's the same kind of.
I know Zimmer works with Nolan.
I don't know if it's the same person,
Most
but like
things, yeah.
You think they took some influences from it? I haven't. I can't speak to
I
this
can't
'cause
speak of it either. Yeah, and I Zimmer music always sounds the same. Like the Zimmer music of Hans is always this sounds like the same. Yeah, it's industrial minimalism, I think is what you call it. But I think this character, the Batman character, is one of the most fun to compare. It's different iterations, and what the Joker kind of represents in each one. It's odd here for the Joker to be like an artist of death, the homicidal artist. He makes art until someone dies, which I thought was kind of funny. In most iterations, though, the Joker is kind of a force just of pure anarchy, and he knows that, right? He's always sort of worn that mantle, and it's a little different here. It's also interesting that this is the one time I think we see a Joker backstory where he is sort of villainous in his previous life, his life as a non-Joker. Either the Joker doesn't have a previous life, he's just sort of kind of sprung from the lack of civility or something like that, or he's like or he was a what do you call it, a comedian who had to take on the Red Hood and fell into that, and then he just becomes this entirely different thing. This is a Joker who's maybe a little more psychologically real, because we know that Jack, before he became Joker, was also kind of psychopathic. He's referred to as crazy even by his associates. But the art angle, which I thought they would do more with, was probably the way in which I think the Joker was more different in this film than in other versions.
I don't know. I kind of, I thought it was interesting, and this might be me looking into it a little bit more, but it seems like whoever wrote the movie, whether it was Tim Burton or a writer or a ghostwriter that went along with him, the idea of making makeup the deadly weapon, and then like forcibly showing the the news anchor pass away on camera, and then showing the news anchor's sans makeup afterwards, and like how horrible they looked, and the guy had like zits all over his face. Like, I don't know if they were trying to like make a social commentary on the 80s culture and how influenced we are with our appearances and stuff. I don't think that has anything to do with the Joker in this, but I mean, like, it is an interesting thing that he went after like vanity in a way, because he's been disfigured, and now we know that Jack Nicholson has to wear a junk load of makeup, but yet makeup is going to be what kills the people else, that he's attacking. So that's a little bit of a juxtaposition, I guess. It's interesting. He is an interesting Joker, and he does seem to be the most natural when it comes to like progression. Like, I was a gangster. I had ties to criminal organization. I'm a psychopath. Something bad happened to me. I cranked it up to 11. So like, you could definitely see the scaffolding that got him to where he is there. I like and don't like that. I like the Joker that kind of comes out of the ether the way that he is, like fully formed, and he's just kind of like a freak of nature almost, that just is wreaking havoc. But I like this Joker too. I think it's a great take on it. I don't hold the Batman stuff in such a way that it needs to be the same every time. Like, this is not like this, then I hate it. Like, I appreciate the fact that there's such a breadth of differences in the Batmans, in the Jokers, in the villains. I like that there's different takes on them, and I don't think that any of them are wrong. I just like that I think they're all good in their own way.
Yeah, it's what good comic book characters are. They become a meme, and you could kind of graph what other memes you want onto them. And so there is a great deal of variety that's allowed there, just so long as Batman is the sort of anarchic force of good, maybe, and the Joker is anarchy proper. Or rather, I should say Batman is the sort of icon of community, the icon that a community can place as something that represents it, and Joker is the undoing of that. And whatever Joker's backstory is, as long as he's trying to undo that icon, then the kind of anarchic aspects of him remain.
Can I just ask, does anyone know why the reporters' mouths were like the Joker's?
That was the chemical agent that he put in these various combinations.
Mouth the exact same as his mouth?
Yes, it had something to do with the nerves. They don't really go into it in great detail, but something about nerve damage making them look like Joker.
That's in the comics, though. It's not necessarily makeup, but it's like a smoke or something like that kills people with a rictus.
Another interesting thing, I don't know if anyone got that vibe, but the henchman for the Joker kind of looked like a little bit of like the Matrix kind of guys with the glasses and the hat, So some, not the main henchman, the some of his guys.
I thought they were just more like tough guys though. No, like I don't know.
Agents.
They look like guys who run the VIP section of a concert with
the Joker patch on them.
I felt they were a bit misplaced. I don't know if they were like dirty FBI, CIA, or something.
I think that is the camp stuff that you were talking about, Chris.
Yeah,
they look like really kind of campy 60s Silver Age. Figures.
Be like dirty FBI.
I was fine.
No, just
with
henchmen.
I liked it. Yeah,
that was just their uniform.
They look very police-like.
Yeah.
They did look more authoritative than they probably should have, except they had this big Joker patch on,
Yeah, I mean the guys with the hats and the glasses.
No, I know exactly what you're saying.
It's all about that purple leather jacket. That's what made you a henchman.
That's it.
And then the cars had the purple and green.
Oh, that's classic henchman swag and gear.
The purple and all.
They totally won't know we're henchmen if we're wearing matching outfits and gear and driving the same vehicles. So.
It's branding. If you want to be a villain in this world, you need branding.
And it happens quick too. Like, there's no sense of time. Like, we're not told how long it takes, but like, he literally falls into a vat of acid, and by the time he comes down the chute and the mannequin hand sticks out of the water, he has a cadre of henchmen that are ready to do his bidding.
The one thing they do to bridge the gap is his right-hand man was with him before he became the Joker. So that guy we know for sure
Bob.
is the same guy.
Bob.
Yeah, it doesn't end well for Bob.
Yeah, he sure got rid of him without a
There's Bob and Lawrence.
Who needs
Hey,
Bob
Bob,
when
how'd
you
you
got
get
that
done?
guy that's beating Batman in the bell tower, though? Jeez.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah. I forgot to mention the line, the Beauty and the Beast line. I really like that.
Oh, that's a great
Yeah.
I was
one.
like, I'm like thinking like, oh, I got to use that one. No, I mean like I'm going to use it in my life.
I won't let anyone call you the Beast
I
or what
wanted to
was it?
mention it here, and I'm like, let me use that. I'm podcast.
Yeah, I'm sure your wife will appreciate that. I'd like to end on a lighter note. I thought it might be fun to go over the bonus question that we never got to, and you don't have to lock in. If you know it, just shout it out. And here it is. Who was Boss Grissom expecting when the Joker paid him a visit? Be specific.
Sugar plums.
Ah,
Is that you, Sugar Plums?
Close. Tom is actually not right. He wouldn't have got the answer.
Oh,
Very
no.
close.
Who was it?
I don't
No one
remember her
else?
name. It was the model that Jack was. That was.
No, Tom is very close.
something like that. Yeah, sugar something.
There's another word that's coming to mind that I'm not saying.
That's not it, but it's
Me
not too
too.
far off. It is, he was looking for sugar bumps.
Sugar Bumps.
Bumps.
Oh, I thought he said plums. I think it was, yeah.
It was sugar bumps. I just always thought that was funny.
Oh,
That is
Jack Palance.
funny.
Hmm.
I'd like to once again congratulate Tom for taking down this episode. Congratulations.
Yes. An hour
Congratulations,
20.
Tom.
Thank you. You're so mad.
Oh, no. You got close on sugar pumps or whatever you said. So I'm gonna give you the full-fledged nod.
Sugar
You're not
Bump.
even closer. It doesn't even feel that bad.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You can find more of our content wherever you listen to podcasts, on our YouTube channel, Twitter at Talking Studios, and our website, talkingpicturestrivia.com. We're extremely grateful to all those who subscribe, like, follow, and leave a review. Do you get Vicky Vale confused with Catwoman? Why or why not? Let us know on Twitter, talkingpicturestrivia@gmail.com, or give us a call at 201-467-8679. Thanks again, Justin and Chris, for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks again for having me, guys. This is always
Great. Even if Tom ended up victorious?
even if he won on a timestamp question, I'll still say this is fun.
Okay, where can you find me? Well, you can find me on Twitter at Thomas Lehman15 and check out Talking Pictures Trivia B-Side.
I can also be found on Twitter at The Nicknamed. Join us next time when we discuss Tom's recommendation from 1928, The Man Who Laughs, which inspired the Joker. Ding, 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 ding.
I want to bring up something for KJ. I hope he's listening. So he has a
Well, I
list
would hope he's listening if he's
No.
editing this.
So he has a list of things that happens in 1989 that gradually get more intense. And his idea of intensity is the Berlin Wall and then the release of Game Boy. So the Berlin Wall coming down is slightly less important than the release of Game Boy.
Let's also not forget that Weekend at Bernie's makes the list of movies that come out along The Last Crusade and Batman.
Yeah, that was a big year in 1989. Yeah.
I don't know how I did anything but stay in a movie theater if this is
Yeah.
the list.
Yeah, East Germany they just needed to give out Nintendo Game Boys, just keep people in the coop. That's what would have done it.
It was all about Tetris, man.
I thought you were going to ask which paintings got violated in the museum.
Oh, gosh, no.
So
I
I
would
was
not have
like,
known that.
prepping that one.
Self-portrait.
Yeah,
There
very good.
was
Mhm,
there
Rembrandt
was a
something.
chance a chance that I might have asked how many paintings did you
Yeah,
modify?
I think 12. I think I could name them, but
I know he wanted to shave Abraham Lincoln, and
yeah, William Willard, Abraham Lincoln, the Gilbert Stuart Washington, right? The Athenaeum portrait. He liked it's a painting by Francis Bacon called, I think, Man with Two Pieces of Meat, something like that. And what it is it's a negative painting of a Vasquez portrait of a